Everyone. Last week we talked about how Jesus didn't come to abolish the law but to fulfill it. And his goal wasn't just to give people more rules, but to call us into a deeper way of living, one that goes beyond external obedience and transforms our hearts. He invites us into a life of greater righteousness, one that reflects his own wisdom, God's own wisdom, love and justice. And today we're looking at Jesus' teaching on honesty, integrity, and how we respond to mistreatment in Matthew chapter 5. And these lessons challenge the way that the world works, and it invites us to live differently as citizens of God's kingdom. One of the problems in Jesus' time was how people made oaths in order to appear trustworthy. We do the same thing today. They would swear by heaven or Jerusalem or even their own heads to make their promises sound more impressive. But deep down, they were just often finding loopholes, ways to sound truthful without actually being committed to honesty. And Jesus challenges this mindset by saying, let your yes be yes and your no be no. In other words, we shouldn't need fancy words to prove that we are trustworthy. If we are truly people of integrity, our character and our actions will speak louder than any oath. Today we see this kind of truth scaling all the time, don't we? In politics, advertising, and even everyday things. People often say things that sound good but don't really mean what they say. And Jesus is calling us to be different. He wants his followers to be people who speak with honesty and clarity and integrity so that others can know that they can trust our words. And then Jesus moves on to another challenge, how we respond when we are wronged or insulted or treated unfairly. Now, in the Old Testament law, it says an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. This was meant to keep justice fair so that punishments wouldn't go beyond the crime. What it didn't do was help people be reconciled. Jesus raises that standard and says, if someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other. If someone sues you for your shirt, give them your coat too. If a Roman soldier forces you to carry his gear for a mile, go too. Now, at first, this sounds like Jesus is telling us to be weak or passive and let people just walk all over us, but that's not the case at all. Jesus is showing a powerful way to break the cycle of evil. Instead of responding to violence with violence or hate with hate, Jesus teaches us to respond in a way that exposes wrongdoing, shining a light on evil and providing an opportunity for people both to see us differently and to act differently. For example, in Jesus' time, a slap on the right cheek was a backhanded slap, assuming they were right-handed, and it was a sign of insult, of humiliation. And by turning the other cheek, you're not fighting back, but you're also not backing down. You're forcing the other person to either stop or to acknowledge you as an equal, giving an opportunity for the people around to give attention to what's going on and to act with justice. If someone sues you and demands your shirt, Jesus says to give them your coat too, which would leave you nearly naked. And that nudity was more shameful for the person causing it than the one being exposed. Such an act in Jesus' day would make the injustice visible to everyone, forcing the oppressor to rethink what they're doing. Of course, Roman soldiers, it's well known, they had a law and a legal right to force anyone to carry their gear for a mile, but no further. And by willingly carrying it for 2 miles, what you are doing is flipping the power dynamic, saying, I'm not your victim, I'm choosing to serve you, I'm choosing to bless you, forcing them to see you differently and be shamed by their abusive actions. And Jesus' point is clear. We don't fight evil with evil, we expose it by responding in ways that reflect God's love and wisdom. Now, does this mean we should never seek justice? No. The Bible is clear that justice matters to God. Micah 6:8 says, what does the Lord require of you? To do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. Justice is good and right, but Jesus warns against seeking revenge or trying to get ahead at the expense of others. Our goal isn't just to win arguments or punish wrongdoers, but to bring healing, to bring peace and restoration wherever possible. And that's why Jesus finishes this section with another challenge. He says, "Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you." He's calling for generosity, reminding us that everything that we have is a gift from God anyway. In the world system, people only give if they expect something in return, but in the kingdom of God, we give freely because that's how God treats us. Jesus' teaching is not easy. It goes against our natural instincts, but he's showing us a better way, a way that displays his kingdom ethic, a way that invites people towards both justice and reconciliation. Let's commit to living as people of truth, of love, of justice, so that when people see us, they catch a glimpse of his kingdom.